So you're just starting your business or your side hustle. You're just getting it going. You got everything planned out and you look for advice. You search on the internet. You find out all those things that you need to do. How many times have you seen have your elevator pitch? Does it work? I promise you, we can help you. Welcome to the 3-1 Group. I'm Dave Shore. Joining me, guys who are much smarter, better looking, more energetic than me. Kevin Kolbe and Mike Morgan joining me. They have the gift of gab. And that's what we do together. We try to bring our expertise for you. Guys, I said the elevator pitch because it's one where you're expected to describe yourself, describe the why, just like that. But the thing that it doesn't do is it doesn't help you overcome what if you're doing it to somebody that doesn't know you. You might not even know them. Mike, I thought of you because you've worked with so many salespeople. How many times does this bother them?
Yeah, it's like everybody's biggest fear, meeting strangers. We were taught as kids, don't talk to strangers. Well, bad advice, mom and dad, kind of work to keep us safe when we were kids. But as we get older into the adult world, we need to be able to talk to strangers. And in fact, we need to be able to do that comfortably and successfully. And there are a couple of, what I'd consider to be kind of tricks of the trade when you're looking to figure out or learn how to engage in conversation with strangers. The very first one is kind of a universal principle, and that is almost everyone, without exception, enjoys talking about themselves. So one really effective way to engage with someone that you don't know is to simply ask, tell me about you. What's your story? What's your background? How did we end up standing next to each other in line at the Chamber Buffet? Anytime you give someone an opportunity to kind of share their story, you're creating you're kind of artificially creating a bonding opportunity with that person.
Yeah, that I like that a lot. I mean, I've been in those situations. In fact, it's funny you mentioned the chamber breakfast. That I was at a chamber breakfast, and there was a guy there going around and introducing himself. But what I quickly noticed is that he never let the other person talk. And so everybody knew all about him, but then he left and all we had was a business card. And, I thought that's just not a way to connect, and I'm guilty of this. When somebody goes, hey, what do you do? Or they ask that question, rather than, just give them a very truncated answer or say something, fairly short or even kind of maybe, a little funny or whatever, and then take it back to them. You start going, well, I've got this opportunity to share my resume.
Yeah.
And it's just like, sadly, people just may not care that much unless it's your doctor. Then share everything.
Yeah.
I you know what? It's funny because I jump on Mike's point too, because I think it's so important. I think about one of the first courses I ever took was the great Dale Carnegie. And, Dale Carnegie's principles had to do with the fact, or maybe your dad or grandfather took those courses. It had to do with people are more interesting that are interested in others, basically was the concept. And I think of that, Mike, because when you mentioned that is just such a great setup. Is it somehow, if you can use your 2 ears first before the mouth, it suddenly just opens up the ease in discussing that. And guys, we've all been in that. We're all in, we've all been in fields where, we've got to open someone up, including ourselves first. And throwing up that softball really, really helps.
Yeah.
Look, here's kind of an advanced tip on, opening the door for someone else to talk about themselves. We're in the age of information. It's almost impossible that you can't find background information on anyone that you want to meet or you're going to be in the same space with. When you think about looking them up on LinkedIn and Facebook and Instagram and just doing a general Google search. So, one of the techniques that I try to teach salespeople is do your homework, learn about as much as you can about the person or people that you're going to be, you're going to be given the opportunity to interact with, and look for points of commonality. Do you both have kids of the same age? Did you both go to an SEC school? Are you both passionate about rugby, which is a really unique, space that is an easy conversation point. Do you know some of the same people, and what story can you tell about that common connection that you have that might open the door for real easy communication? The other technique that I think is important to learn, and this is particularly important if you're looking to develop specifically a business opportunity-based relationship, is to understand what that person's job and like dreams and desires and fears are all about, and express that you understand that person. We all want to feel like we're understood and acknowledged and validated, right? As a salesperson, one of the things that I try to do with people that I don't know that I'm going to meet is let them know right off the gate, hey, I understand you. As an operations manager for a logistics company, I know that efficiency and delivery times are one of the most critical things that you could ever be tasked with, and you're where the buck stops. I can imagine that if anything in that process breaks down, it's critically impacting your position. So what I'm here to talk about is, fill in the blank. Here's how I think I could help you ensure that you never have to worry about, not deliveries not being on time, whatever the case is, right? It's saying, hey, I understand you, and through that understanding, let's talk a little.
Yeah. And a tip I'll share quickly is that one of the things that I've learned is when people say, hey, what do you do? We typically default to give them our job title. And that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. But rather than tell them what your job title is, why don't you tell them maybe what you're best at? So like, hey, what do you do? Well, I help people turn their passions into like income. Oh, yeah. What? Or, I make up stories for a living. What? Because I'm a writer or whatever. It's a little interesting. It's a take on it, but it's more about your why as opposed to just that title that's on a business card that you're going to give them anyway. And I think that can create conversation, but then you've got to quickly make it about the other person too.
Yeah. Think about this slight technique. And again, it's what can you do that stands out a little bit, that separates you from the pack. So, instead of saying, hey, what do you do? What if you approach someone that you don't know and said, hey, Dave, as it relates to business, what's your mission? What is it that drives you every day? Asking the same question, you're just asking it in a way that they probably haven't heard 100 times before. And what I find is when you ask a question that's a little different from what they are always used to hearing, the response is a little more organic and authentic and raw, and real.
Yeah, that's and I close, guys, with a personal example. What I think that this really stands out for is that many of the folks watching this, they might be in the for-profit world, or they might have a side hustle out there. Mm-hmm. I'm now, after years of being in one industry, in the communications industry and consulting, I'm in the nonprofit world, and you talk to a lot of people that you don't know in the nonprofit world, and just like in the for-profit world, you have to ask for the order at some point, whether it be a sponsorship, whether it be for fundraising. And one of the biggest connectors in that, when you don't know somebody, is to find out if there's a connection as to someone in their family that went through, in a particular case, whether they had that disease or had something that they struggled with as well. And there's no better connector. And the only way to find that out is to just have that opening conversation. And it just opens up so much more, because suddenly when you relate to someone else, I almost like the people that I don't know to talk to better than the people I know sometimes.
Yeah. And then going back quickly to Mike's point, I mean, this day of internet, if you are applying for a job, if you are pitching a product, if you have an audience that maybe is set up and you have the chance to do the research and you don't, you're just lazy.
Yeah.
I mean, you are, because there's probably a whole bunches of yous that are going to be pitching and have ideas and vying for that person's attention. So at least do the other person the courtesy of doing a little research And that way it opens up just conversations that may not even be job related, but maybe exactly what you need to get that foot in the door or maybe get that contract signed.
Well, folks, we hope that you're able to engage with everyone, especially those that don't know you or that you don't know them, because it'll open up great things. And we hope that you engage with some of the things that we've done, or if you haven't explored some of the topics that we've gotten into. We've had a lot of fun talking about things. Catch up with us. Subscribe to our channel here, the 3-1 Group, and go back and watch some of the videos and some of the topics. And if something hits you, maybe we haven't explored a certain one, make a comment in there. Ask us a question as well, and we'll get to those as well. We have a lot of fun. We bring a lot of energy and passion and experience to this, but most importantly, we want to see you succeed out there as well. So for my guys, Mike Morgan, Kevin Kolbe, I'm Dave Shore. Thanks for joining us. We'll talk to you next time here on the 3-1 Group.